don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change. Now I'm walking Hall of Fame. And I reside in the cloud. Grand wishes with these bitches. Taking pictures with the crowd, and I'm out.
Yo. What up? Happy Friday. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. I hope all is well. Salutes to everybody that is in the building. Shout outs to my poets, writers, content creators. I don't know where you watching from, but I appreciate you. I salute you, and I thank you for your time, for your attention, for your patience, for your commentary, for your feedback. All of that good stuff. I'm humble. You see the title. For some of you, it's been a while since I've done this live stream stuff. On TikTok, they make it extremely difficult because I want to connect my TikTok with my StreamYard, but you got to go through a whole bunch of bullshit to do that. So I really just don't be on here too much, but I do post quite often. I felt like it's Friday. Why not? Sydney, I see you in the studio. Hopefully everybody that's watching over here on TikTok can hear you over on the other side of the internet. We got a lot to cover. The video itself, this is a updated, more user-friendly version. The actual video that I saw was too graphic. Community guidelines, they would have kicked me off. I can't play that. I do have one that I do want to share with y'all. Sarah, salutes to you. We're gonna get this show started though. I'm gonna give a little context to what we're talking about here. I'm gonna share my thoughts. Me and Sydney gonna chop it up. And we just gonna go from there. Sid, what up?
Hello. How are you?
I'm cool. It's Friday.
Yes, it absolutely is.
This is my favorite part of the week.
Absolutely. Me too. Also, I have to show these off. I just got these and I'm super excited. They're shark pants. They're like shark sweatpants with a matching sweatshirt. I saw them and oh my God, they're so cool. I was worried that they're going to be like Shane quality, but it's actually really, really cool. Like, really good quality and stuff like that. This is not sponsored. I'm just saying. I was very excited when they arrived the other day. And even my husband was like, those are pretty dope. Like, I might have bought those if they were like not for women.
I'm not mad at it. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, stop worrying about everybody's fashion. If you like it, I love it. Period. We need to get out of that. I think the dope. Salutes. Salutes. You made me think of this brother that go by Sean that I follow on TikTok, bro. He stayed with some new jerseys, some new kicks. Shout out, bro. I don't know if you in here, but salutes to you, bro. But with all that being said, I want to play this clip for y'all, man. We gotta talk about it. Shout out my man Ricardo. He wanted to cover this too. When I saw it, I was like, damn, this is nasty work. Pregnant woman with epilepsy gets lured to a house, assaulted, and this could have gone way beyond what it did. And this was extreme enough as it is. I'm going to play the clip, though. For those of you who haven't seen it, this is for y'all. For everybody else, you're already familiar with the situation, but let me know y'all thoughts as we go on and on and on with this discussion. Let me bring this up here on the big screen real quick. We'll go with this right there. Cool.
All right, guys, I want to give you an update regarding up there in Michigan when I brought you that video about the young lady that was lured over to a house and there were 3 females that were attacking her. And if you remember, the 3 menaces are Brooklyn Morantz, Daphne Ordway, and Riley Blackwell. And for those that didn't see the video or haven't heard of it, this young lady was lured over. She was laying in the bed. She was clearly out of it because they had given her some alcohol and she was way out of it. She suffers from epilepsy and she had seizures. And at that time, they made some statements about unaliving her. And then they started throwing punches, jumping on her like pile driver, like you do in wrestling. Very hard. They were pulling her hair, all that stuff. One of them can even be heard saying, "Where should we hide the body?" Well, the good news is Audrey has actually commented on a couple of posts. Her name is Audrey Masarik. And this is what she actually said. She said, "Hey, everyone, I'm Audrey. I'm the girl who got beat. I'm doing okay. And I did get rushed to the hospital after that incident with a blood alcohol level of 3 times the legal limit." She said the police, in fact, did show up to that apartment. And she said that she guessed that when she got stable, the nurses said that she went to Riley's neighbor at her apartment and knocked on the neighbor's door, and the neighbor called the ambulance for her. She said she had swollen eyes, she had a scrape on her face, she had a really big knot on the side of her head, and she had rug marks on her waist from when they dragged her upstairs. She did say that she has epilepsy, so the amount of alcohol could have been fatal, and she also could have had a stroke. She did have a seizure in the hospital from being hit in the head. She did say that she suffered mentally, physically, and emotionally that night. She did say they waited till she was completely intoxicated before they attacked her. But she said overall, she's doing okay. She also said that the day after that incident, she took a pregnancy test and found out that she was pregnant. So she has a baby girl. And also this incident took place back in November. So she still has time to file charges. She also said that she was embarrassed and she was ashamed to let herself get to that point. But she has completely changed her life. Her baby changed her life. But now she is going to seek justice. She couldn't remember anything, so she couldn't press charges. But now that the video has surfaced, she's going to press those charges. And Audrey did state that this is not the first time that they've done this to somebody. They've done this before. So if you've been a victim of these 3 menaces, y'all need to reach out because justice is finally here. I've talked to my team. I think we're going to start a donation site for her. And young people, be careful of the friends in your circle. They're not always in your corner. All right, guys.
Nasty work. And he's only giving you play-by-play. The actual video, I really didn't even want to watch it all the way through. It really like infuriated me that much. But just giving off of the information that he just gave us, I hope and pray that she's healthy. I hope her child is healthy. I hope that everything that she does moving forward is enough to get these demons arrested and held accountable for their actions, especially seeing as how, from what I'm hearing, this isn't the first incident. Initial thoughts?
I think it's so unfortunate that we're seeing. I don't know if statistically this is actually a rise in violence, or and if it's just because we have cameras everywhere now, and everyone has phones and recording capabilities. But it seems like violence is increasing, especially within this country, especially violence that is either racially motivated or like gender oriented or LGBT targeted at the LGBT community. It just seems like we're in a time period where more people are resorting to using violence to, I don't know, exert power over other people, to I don't know what it is, but it just seems like people are way more angry now. Angry at the world, angry at other people, angry with their circumstances, which I can definitely understand. But it's really unfortunate that it's also translating into innocent, vulnerable people being assaulted and almost killed, or actually getting killed, as we've seen in other cases. So yeah, I can see the parallels between Audrey and Nolan, especially if we look into. I see your stamp. That's really cool. Especially if we kind of if race is kind of involved in the situation as well, because attacks that are emotionally motivated, such as like a partner attacking their partner, is fairly common, unfortunately. But hate crimes, I think, indicate something different in the world, where like, hold on, where romantic violence is something that we've kind of dealt with for forever, basically, as long as we've been alive. But I don't know, racial violence to me seems more like a culturally encouraged type of thing, like something that happens when you get too many people of different mentalities put into close quarters, such as what you get in a city or suburbs. So I think it could potentially be an indicator of how stressed out this society is right now, because desperate people, stressed out people will become more violent more easily than people that have all their needs taken care of and their comforts taken care of. We're more likely to be altruistic when we have all our needs met than when we're struggling.
I'm gonna give a disclaimer, and I'm gonna say I know that there is still a small portion of the world that isn't racially driven. You might have been raised to hate other cultures. You might have grew up around people like that. You might still be attached through blood with folks that are ignorant like that, but it didn't rub off on you, or you didn't allow it to affect you. And I respect that. I want to give a shout out to those people. You didn't allow that spirit to take you over and be a representation of the very plague that is causing this ugly rift in the first place. However, there are a lot of you don't even know what you're angry for. You don't know why you feel the way you feel towards specific people. Someone told you how to feel that way. Someone bred that in you. You know how we talk about older men groom younger women and younger women groom younger men. Well, this is the same thing. Someone in your bloodline groomed you to look at people a certain type of way, and you've been running with it ever since. I'm exhausted. I'm overly exhausted because for the last 6 months, I scroll up and down my timeline. Somebody's been hung. Nobody knows nothing about it. Someone's been shot. Nobody knows nothing about it. A 1-year-old just got killed in Mississippi not too long ago by an officer. They trying to do everything in their power to let him off the hook. All of these black kids getting assaulted, getting beaten. Nolan Wells is the one right now that has so much of this being highlighted. I wasn't even checking for this. It just popped up in my feed. And all I can think is, what about them that she think was friendly? How, like, the shit is scary how a person can put on a smile. They can be the friendliest, the most polite, most gentle spoken. They can walk with a certain type of pizzazz. They can shake hands and kiss babies. They don't give you no indication that they the boogeyman. And then the next thing you know, you done got drugged. Someone done stuck a needle in your arm. They done set you up to get hurt in some type of malicious way. And it's all because of this false sense of security that we have. You can't go anywhere or trust too many people these days at all. I don't trust nobody. I don't. Don't care what culture you come from, because every time I turn on the TV and I look up and down this screen, I'm seeing what? Black on black, white on black. I'm seeing a combination of everything. I'm seeing people sleeping with their best friends, husbands, wives, all that. Nobody is safe. Nobody is off the chopping block. Nolan Wells, one of the biggest stories right now of the year. He was hanging out with a bunch of white people, and he ends up dead, and they doing everything in their power to hide it. Tasia Fortune was just found in Mississippi. She was found hung behind an abandoned house. Trey Reed. Everybody forgot about Trey Reed. There's a long ass list of black kids hanging out with white kids, and they end up coming up missing. Rasheem was being hunted. He told the authorities he needs help. They're trying to harm him. He told his family they were trying to harm him. They ignored him. They ignored everything that he said. He tried to do everything the right way. And guess what? He went missing. He ended up with his head cut off, with his appendage in his mouth. They unalived him. They beheaded him, and then they put his in his mouth. Nobody knows nothing. And I'm saying all that to say, even though I know there are good people in the world, I know it ain't all white people, but it's a lot of y'all with that spirit in you. And this young lady here, she's very fortunate, extremely fortunate that she made it out of this alive. Because they had other intentions. They did this twice. This is the second time. I don't even know nothing about the first time. But the fact that they said this happened before means it tells me that whatever the first incident was, they just found a way to use their privilege or their power to get them to ignore it and keep it pushing. I yield the mic.
One thing that I noticed is I was trying to do some research on the case to see if there's any other information. And there isn't a single news article covering the story. It's only what I found through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and TikTok. There's no news articles whatsoever, main news, CNN, you name it, covering this story. The only one that I found that was kind of a news story, but not really a main one, is Prime Timer. They wrote about how the police department has the case under prosecutorial review. But there's no other news stories covering this. And I think that follows another pattern that is contributing to this rise in violence and the rise of the split between those who support that behavior and those who do not. If you're not seeing these stories on major news networks, one, people may doubt the truth behind the story. They might say, oh, because it's not on the news, it doesn't exist, it didn't happen. And a lot of people only get their information from TV news, particularly the older populations. And it's going to, just like with a lot of the other cases, they might do a blurb on TV, but they don't usually go deep into depth about these incidences. And they're very passive and they try to be fair and balanced, even though a lot of these issues are not something that should be, oh, well, we weigh both sides and weigh both possibilities. I'm like, why don't you be honest about the truth of the situation? I've seen news stories covering deaths that were suspicious, and they would always end with like, oh, but police are still searching and they don't have conclusive evidence of blah, 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 blah. But we don't have news stories now that point out discrepancies and challenge the thinking of the communities that are that are involved in the whole situation. We just have news medias that's like, oh yeah, this happened. All right, moving on to the next story. There was a joke that I remember watching a while ago, where news media is basically like, oh, danger, this thing happened, we're all gonna die. Next up, let's look at some cute puppies. News media doesn't like to touch on the difficult topics. They tend to gloss over because they don't want to trigger their audience. They don't want to upset people. But truthfully, if we want to make progress on anything, whether politically, socially, environmentally, we have to rile people up. We have to make people angry about these situations, because anger is one of the best motivators of change. We have to get fed up, sick of what's happening, done with everything, all the treatment that is being forced upon people, and all of the ways that we bully people. If we want to stop this type of behavior, we have to get mad enough to demand that it stops. And by not covering these types of stories, it prevents people, except for those who are exclusively on social media, from hearing about these incidences. So I think that's kind of another signal of what's going on in society, how why these things are getting swept under the rug and how they're being swept under the rug. So yeah, I think it's very indicative of the mindset of our society, where they still aren't at the point where they're comfortable disclosing violence that is happening to everyday people.
Couple of ways I look at it, because somebody had commented on one of my posts. They said they're trying to start a race war. This is dangerous territory for a lot of reasons, right? Because anger and rage has a way of forcing people to move irresponsibly, right? So put it this way. Damn near everything that we watch and consume has a general purpose behind it. We're the consumers. The internet offers the product. The product can be humiliation rituals. It could be media coverage. It could be about buying appliances, clothes. It could be about gossip. It could be about yoga. It could be a number of things. You could be a rage baiter. You could be someone who just intentionally uses your platform to start arguments with folks just so that you can get under their skin. What I'm trying to get at is these people, and you take that however I want, there's a specific group of people who use these measures intentionally to trigger us into losing everything. See, it's not war. Guerrilla warfare is not just taking your most expensive guns and taking your gang and shoot somebody's house with innocent kids in it and all that. You can get a person locked up, sent away for the rest of their life just by forcing them to get evicted or doing something to them that cost them their livelihoods on a job. Sometimes the way that you can get to somebody goes deeper than just punching them in the face. You don't have to use direct or blunt force trauma to get a person who doesn't have any regulation over their feelings and emotions to do something stupid. And then before you know it, you gone. You took over their property. You took over their land. Bada bing, bada boom, mission accomplished. This situation right here, it worries me because it's like, on one hand, you still want to love people and treat people fairly, but also you still got to have eyes in the back of your head. You don't know who to trust. You got to make sure that you are properly vetting people. You can't just catch a vibe with somebody and go shopping with them and go eating with them and do all of this. Nah, it's not that simple anymore. It's worse now. And like once I started noticing there's a consistent pattern, yeah, everything changed. Everything changed. You said something earlier about culture playing a factor in. I don't know if you alluded to this or you were highlighting that the economy might play a role in a person's mental state because everything is high. Everybody didn't grow up with the Huxtable lifestyle. So that could be a reason for this, that, and the third. All I know is If you want to combine all of that into one, you can. Me, quite frankly, a part of this is about one, our lack of conversation when we're talking with our family and our friends and our peers, and we're going about our day. We don't really factor in how serious it is to really stay sharp when we're in and out of different places, dealing with people on the job, dealing with people in restaurants and stores, on the road, just being too comfortable. You want to live your life, but you also want to be very cautious still. I've got to the point where I don't have a lot of people in my life. I don't consider everybody a friend. I used to throw that word around very, very loosely. Everybody was a friend. Everybody was a friend. No, the hell they're not. Everybody is not your friend. Most of these people aren't even associates. Most of the time, we don't even know their family. We don't know nothing about their background or none of that. We just caught a vibe with the people and we just start kicking it with them. But we don't really dig enough to really determine, all right, damn, is this somebody that I can sleep around? Should I really be smoking after them or drinking with them? Should I even have them around my people at all? Like, we don't really be thinking about stuff like that no more. We too comfortable, we too spoiled, too desensitized. And as a black person specifically, I might not be as book smart as a lot of people is, but I use these applications just as much as everybody else. And I see enough of the dirt and enough of the crime to know that there are things out there that exist, not only where they are, but where I am too. And I'm not foolish enough to just automatically assume that I'm going to be okay just because you are of a different complexion, just because you are translucent. That does not mean that you're safe. Jeffrey Dahmer was the most calm, well-spoken person. People who are not like they're detached from reality, and they have like, I don't know how to explain the shit. Jason would have been like, this is such and such, such. We done talked about a lot of this shit. People who really are wired wrong, they don't have to be loud. They're not they're not that. They're quiet, they're peaceful, nonchalant, all that. That's how they be getting. I ain't falling for it. I'm not stupid. And like, I don't know why I don't know why we're so trusting. I don't. I'm glad she's okay and everything, but it's like, damn, am I the only person that keeps seeing people getting hung and hung and hung? Am like, is it just me that's seeing this shit? It can't be just me. You got it.
I think the sad part is, if you notice, one of the common denominators about these stories is they're all young people. And I think that's part of the problem because, one, a lot of our kids now are, I hate to use this word, but like underdeveloped in comparison to previous generations. This generation has not been exposed to the same level of violence and like danger that other generations did before. Like, boomers dealt with different wars over the years. The people that were adults through the 70s, 80s, and 90s were dealing with the downed economy. And then when these current generations came into the world that are currently in their teens, 20s, early 30s. They've kind of had a cushy life. Some people were lucky enough to. And we've been so sheltered. Like kids that were born 90s and beyond have been extremely sheltered. A lot of parents haven't let them free roam. They haven't had the opportunity really to kind of experience the world without parental involvement. And that has a huge effect on thinking, on behavior, on your response to the world. And people that haven't gotten this outside experience tend to be a lot more naive, and believe that nothing can happen to them. They have more of an invincibility complex. And so I think that might be part of the problem where, yeah, you're just like you were saying, they're overly trusting. They're assuming that, oh, we're the same age. We probably have the same interests. Maybe we'll get along. Like if there's like, when you're young, you assume that everyone else thinks like you. It's a very common age-related thought process, where you just and some people never get out of it. Some people never don't have parents or teachers that point out that people don't actually think like you. I still remember to this day when I had that realization that people don't actually have the same thoughts as me in different situations. And I think that's a really important skill that we don't really talk about, we don't consider, but it has a huge effect on how you interact with people. Because if you assume that people think like you, you're going to assume that either A, the person is also just as vindictive and mean as you, and so you'll treat them as such, or vice versa. You'll think that they're incredibly nice and trustworthy, even if they're not. So I think this kind of mentality contributes to the trusting nature of people, and makes people more likely to kind of fall into these traps.
At Tanjali, I hope I said that right. There's so many stories right now as we speak that don't get mainstream coverage. The only time I find out about stuff, and this is what I do on a regular basis, I'm on TikTok. I'm literally scrolling, looking for stuff that nobody has talked about, and then I'll bring it to the panel, or I'll just give my 2 cents on it, because I don't like how the mainstream media tends to pick and choose what they want to show you. I could be wrong about a lot of stuff. One thing I'm not is the fact that there are people that need a voice and they don't get them. The Rasheen case, I ain't seen nobody talk about that one at all. This one right here, Sydney just said herself, it ain't nowhere unless you on social media, the apps, Twitter, Facebook. They're the most reliable sources these days. Fact check if you want. I'm not telling you to believe everything that I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, come on. Additionally, to drug, I'm going to say drug. To get someone drunk, knowing that this person has epilepsy, three times the limit. You overly did it. And then you waited until they were completely incapacitated, defenseless. Stomped on them. Elbow dropped. I'm looking at the video. I feel what everybody in the comment section felt. There were women who said, I wish I would have had that opportunity to be there. Let that have been me. People were pissed, and rightfully so. This is not your first, this is your second time doing this. This goes like that. That goes beyond, oh, I grew up in a wooden cabin out in the woods and I didn't see the day or the sun until recently, and I hate all humanoids. It's not just, oh, we're poor. No, this is something else. And they took turns. So I'm with you. I really believe. I don't care if it was a rage bait video. I don't care if it triggers people. The fact of the matter is, it's a reality that we need to hash out and we need to put in the forefront. It should not be hidden. People should be talking about it. Everybody should be talking about it. Not just about the violence itself, but detecting the potential for it in other people. How to protect your loved ones from being in this situation. How to maneuver if they are in this type of environmental condition. Like, yeah, this needs to be expanded upon 10 times more than it has been. Period. There's no excuse why this should just be swept under the rug. I've seen too many of these stories in the last year plus, and it's cool in theory to do this, but what do we do with this? I'm not telling y'all to go beat the hell out of every single white person or whatever. Like that's not going to change nothing. We got to use this. I mean, really use it, not just scream and yell, but apply that knowledge and put it to work. Otherwise, they're going to keep playing in everybody's face. You're spoiled. You've gotten used to getting away with this shit. And don't get it twisted. There are people who turn an eye to it and they keep it moving. Everybody not doing that. There's a lot of intelligent brothers and sisters on these internet streets that don't have no issue with creating a space to progress these conversations forward with pen and paper, not with just hearsay. But that was disgusting. That video was absolutely disgusting, and I hope she sues the hell out of the family of all of them. I hope she gets every single cent that she can get out of them. I hope they rot. I hope that karma meets them right where they met her. Absolutely disgusting, deplorable.
I think another thing that is a problem with how people perceive this type of violence is at the same time the news isn't covering these things in a educational kind of fashion, but the violence we do see, we're exposed to a lot, and we're exposed to pretty intense violence, especially not even through just through videos, but also through video games and depictions of it in movies and stuff like that. And we've kind of become desensitized to violence. And it doesn't affect us in the same way that it did 20 years ago. Like, I still remember how big some of the original stories used to be. I can't think of names off the top of my head at the moment, but I remember there were quite a number of cases of attacks, racially motivated attacks that ended up taking the person's life or causing significant damage. And that was on the news for weeks. And they were discussing all the details. They're showing the videos. They were talking about the person. They're bringing people on to talk about it. But they don't do anything like that anymore. Most of the time, as I kind of said earlier, it's just a short little blurb. But because we're so entrenched in violence, people they're not even affected by the stories they hear anymore. People used to be drawn into these stories and they'd feel compassion. They'd feel sadness for the person, and it would entice more people to do things for other people, to step in and support. Like, this is somewhat unrelated, but in like the 50s, 60s, and even before that, if someone had a baby, the neighborhood would rally around them and make them meals and help them out with the baby, and they might come over and help them out with chores. Previous generations would sit together and mend their clothes together. They do their chores together. They garden together. We had so much more community, and we'd rally around people that were sick or injured or needed our help. But now, because people are so stressed out, they don't have enough resources for themselves. They're struggling to get by. People are working 2, 3, 4 jobs, working like 60, 80 hours a week just to get by. We don't have the capacity, or people are losing the capacity to care about other people. There's a lot of science to show that when people are encountering scarcity, in the sense that they don't have access to food, to water, to shelter, other things that they might need, they start to become more aggressive and closed off towards other people. They start to see more people as threats because it brings out that competitive nature in us. And when people have this lack of compassion, fewer people are going to react in a way that helps out those communities, demands justice, calls for action on issues. And we're seeing it in all sorts of areas. Like, people's volunteerism is going down. People's, I think, donations for a lot of charities has started to decline. And then, as we've seen, people have a decreased interest in these types of issues. And on top of that, with all of the stuff going on in this country and around the world, people are just overall tired of hearing about it, tired of hearing about the violence, tired of hearing about politicians doing absolutely nothing, tired of law enforcement being on the wrong side, tired of racially motivated violence, tired of all of this stuff that's happening, that you hear just another story. It becomes just another incident in a long list of incidences, kind of the same way that we've experienced with school shootings, where back, was it 1999 with Columbine? Like, that was all over the news for weeks. I remember being irritated because the news story would cut into Dragon Tales back when I watched that as a kid, because it was on so often. And now the news cycle, as I said, short attention span is gone within a week, or if they do mention it, it's much later. So our interest in caring has declined, and again, we're not bringing attention to these issues nearly as much as we used to, because people are kind of getting tired of it and their brains are numb to it.
Sound like they wearing us down. Push drugs enough, push a product enough, you get tired of it. You consume potato chips enough, you get tired of potato chips. You keep eating the same type of pizza enough, you get tired of eating it. Yeah. Shout out to Max, because Max brought this up like 2 weeks ago. He said the same thing because we did a story on a similar situation almost, and he said, I'm sorry, I really don't have too much to offer, because it's not that I don't care. It's just that I see this so much as, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell y'all. I mean, it's bad. I'm just kind of, I've reached my threshold with this stuff. It would be different if we were getting some relief, if we were getting some real, actual justice, and the biases within our judicial system wasn't so frigid and so like fraudulent. If I was seeing more stories about people getting arrested or getting just sentences, we will probably be different. We will probably have a different attitude. It's like, all right, well, there's a little pressure off me at least. Exactly. Give us something, anything. Because how does a woman who is a former governor only get 90 days after having intercourse with her son's friend at a party? 90 days? And then there's another story I just did. A woman got 10 years. She's a former cop. She got 10 years. Here, listen to this. She got home one night. She lives in her apartment complex. Her apartment is on the 3rd floor. She drove up to the 4th floor. She goes to the 4th floor, enters the home of a black man eating ice cream on his couch. And she unalives that black man in his own house. She told the police after she called the ambulance and she was on the phone with dispatch. She told them, I thought I was in my apartment. I thought he was an intruder. She only got 10 years for that. How do you, like, what? How long have you been living at an apartment complex? You don't know the difference between the 3rd floor and the 4th floor? How is you just so casually able to enter into an apartment with a set of keys that don't fit for that particular door? Or did he just have his door open and you just walked in it? 10 years. So it's like, y'all playing in our face and you telling us what you really think about the people. You keep letting stuff slide, but you keep on telling us, oh, you for America, you for the people, you want this, you want that, you want us to go out here and do this and do that, but you keep on showing us the complete opposite. Nah, yeah, people are tired. These stories come up, I'm thinking, man, ain't nothing gonna happen. Nothing's gonna change. Like you said in the chat, slap on the wrist, and it's just gonna be that, and we just supposed to eat it. Nah, no. I'm over that. I'm good on that. I want something else on my plate. I want to digest something else. I'm tired of eating the same BS over and over and over again. And this is the time for it. You're not going to keep on telling us we ain't see what we saw. You're not going to keep on telling us you have no answers for us. You've flown to the moon, allegedly. You've been to the bottom of the ocean. I just watched a video on TikTok. I don't know who built it. They built this mini submarine. It's like a two-seater. You can navigate, you can move backwards, you got a control system here, it's see-through all up at the top, and they you can't tell me I don't know how to get stuff done if you need to get it done. Y'all playing with the people. And all I'm gonna say is I thank God that woman is still alive. That's because I'm like, imagine if she would have lost the child. You put all that alcohol in her, beat on her, jumped on her, and she lost the child in the process. She didn't even remember what happened. So, like, enough is enough. Enough is enough. I don't know if that's the same situation. I know that the one that I'm referring to, she said she didn't know who he was. She just thought that it was a his name is Botham John, Botham Jean, Botham John. She didn't know. She said she didn't know who he was. She just thought that he broke into her house. But like, you telling me he broke into your house, and how is that possible if he was sitting there eating ice cream? Like, it sounded like he was just chilling, minding his business. I don't know, man. I can understand the exhaustion, though. I don't know. I'm just overly exhausted with it. Moving forward, though, people, I hope people, when they see stories like that, I know it's tiresome, but spread the news. Let somebody see that this is going on. Maybe somebody else can move this a little more, like, expansive. I don't know. I just don't want to keep on having these conversations where we get overly comfortable with being around people that clearly don't like us for whatever reason. Like, I'm not telling you not to be friends with these people or nothing like that. I'm just suggesting be more smart, be more careful with your company, period. That's it. Because everybody ain't bad. It's just a small few of rotten apples that are used to getting away with stuff. And we got to hold them all equally accountable for their part. Nothing more or less. Shout out to everybody who came in here and tapped in tonight, too. Is there anything you want to add before we get out of here? You got it.
All right. First of all, my condolences to her family, or I guess she's still alive, but still, like, my heart goes out to her and her family for all of the trauma that they had to go through. I can't even imagine how traumatic that would be to witness your child being exposed to that type of violence. So I hope for a positive recovery for her psychology, for her physical injuries and stuff like that. No one should have to endure that type of treatment. And I also have a poem that I thought I'd read. This poem's technically about school violence, but I think it still fits with the conversation because it does talk about the violence that our youth is exposed to. And as we've seen in society right now, kids are being exposed to violence again at younger and younger ages. We've, through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and up through the 90s, we've had kids see and experience progressively less violence because of how much we've censored things and sheltered kids. But I think we're returning to a time where kids are exposed to a lot of violence, a lot of danger, a lot of stress, as we did prior to, like, in the 1900s, early 1900s, and before. But this time around, the kids and even adults don't actually have the tools to deal with that kind of stress. And so a lot of people will, as we said, avoid it, ignore it, get desensitized to it. And some people will become it. They'll turn to the violence. They'll become vindictive. They'll become angry. They'll become bitter towards society. And all of that is indicative of kids that were not given tools to handle emotional situations. And so we really have to work with our kids, not only to understand violence and how to avoid it and protect themselves, but also to understand that it does happen. It's not something, I mean, you should be afraid of it reasonably, but you shouldn't let it rule your life. But you still need to have the caution to protect yourself from it. So this poem kind of touches on that. It's called Discipulocide. It's one of my favorite poems. How can we educate when eager ears of the young are no longer echoing the voices of the teachers? Instead, eardrums absorb shock waves, sounds of the races, shots to faces, shattered fate sense, traumatic nascence, rapid spray, tense crouch, quietly behind the couch. In class, they should be spelling. Instead, with eyes welling, they don't learn leapfrog. They learn to leap long, behind bookcases and bodies, behind well-meaning cubbies, filled to the brim with scattered naivety, false pretenses of purity, false senses of security. Where is the solutionary? Are they waiting behind bullets through brains, waiting in the stain of a statistician quadrain? Where are the readers, the healers, the leaders? We could inspire, we could make flyers. Instead, we freeze, letting emotions run away with the keys, running school by police, running from targets in the streets. The problem is leaking. The solutions are fleeting. No soul is heeding the psychiatric warnings, beeping, flashing, as red as the bleeding our innocence shed. Leaders instead in conversation, walling, tossing the stalling, while horrid heroes without a hall pass dash past defenseless littles, hall monitors with a scythe, taking roll with a muzzle. Leaders command pink districts for skeleton closets and cemetery halls to usher your baby to a new age. Leaders demand reading commandments with rage as they line them up to shoot them down. Leaders send them off to learn to add. Instead, they come home counting down their days. Pin that portrait those babies made. Save it for the paper. Save it for the wake. We trust the system with our hearts to turn dollars into arts. Yet the eyeless fish, the leaders who bitch and bitch, raking in bills for money they snitch, beg for one more baby lich to put in the casket, back into the ditch. One more diploma in the basket so they can have their wealth for themselves. With passion fake, they pray to false gods for precious glass to break so they can continue to take. Stand against violence. Stand not with silence. Our kids deserve their chance, for education should be new life, the real intervention, future exhibition, growth and retribution, and not execution.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change. Now I'm walking Hall of Fame. And I reside in the cloud. Grand wishes with these bitches.